Okay, so audio should be working now. For those of you watching, I know I've started this stream. It'll be just a few moments here before we actually get things going. I just wanted to let you guys know that I am here and to talk into the microphone a bit to make sure that audio is working and all of that as you all filter into chat. I'm going to put this announcement in Discord. And if you guys are in the Outcast Dev School Discord or the Mojin Discords, we're going to be doing this as a watch together in voice chat. So that's why why I had the test stream running earlier and why I'm taking a moment to get all this stuff set up as we're getting this started. Should just be a few more moments before we get things going, guys. I'm just getting some earbuds here. Okay. And I can't see chat yet. I'm getting this stream open in YouTube right now. Okay. All right, everyone. Oh, and I'm getting a feedback loop. I'm hearing myself somewhere. Okay, that should do it. Okay, I think that did the trick. Okay. I know I've said okay a lot, and you guys can't see what I'm doing because I'm just streaming Unreal Engine. I apologize. I have Discord open on one screen, Discord from another account open on another. Let's see. Okay, right at 3 o'clock. That's when I plan to start, so we're almost on time. All right, everyone. So everything's set up now. I apologize for that delay at the beginning there, but we are picking up from where we left off, and we're going to be doing some more work towards getting a motion matched system with Mojin animations inside of Unreal Engine. So, well, we're picking up a bit ahead of where we left off last time, so I want to show you guys where I'm at currently. And I've done, well, if any of you have watched the previous stream, I was in the process of making some animations in Mojin, of having them generated with trajectories that I put in using this project here. And I got a bit further off camera, and I have some pivot animations in, and I have start animations and stop animations ready to process, but I have not processed them yet. And I've been working on trying to get a sine wave going here so that we can get that animation as well during the stream. But I'm going to see if I can get a Discord over on my other monitor along with the YouTube chat. Because if you guys are in the Outcast Dev School Discord or the Motorica Discord, this is going to be in both through the watch together functionality that Discord has that I've only just become aware of. I'll go ahead and throw out the link for both servers into chat now. I hate how Discord always gives you a 7-day link whenever you hit the button to invite people. That's why all my links seem to be expired. I forget to set that to never expire whenever I get a link to post. Okay. And it looks like I've Discord going in my browser with a second account with one of these. And oh, okay. It looks like that is going in voice chat. So I'm going to turn that off. I apologize for anyone who's in Discord and was hearing double from the stream and from the microphone. So I now should be able to hear you guys in the Dev School Discord as well. Okay. All right. I know I've said that over and over again, guys. I apologize. I should be finished in Discord now. So, okay. So to answer the first question in chat, do I work on games? Or sorry, the text was a bit covered up there. So let me move this over. Do you work as a game dev, or is this a hobby for you? Technically speaking, it is a hobby, though I do plan to make my own games, and I do have a project that I'm working on, multiple projects too, really. It's just that I'm not being paid for either of them yet, and likely won't be until we get these games released. So I'm not currently making money from game development, but I'm actively working towards that and making YouTube videos to teach what I learn as I go on that journey myself. So I don't have technical professional experience in the industry yet, though I hope that will change once I release a game. So let's take a look at the current coverage we have here. So I got these pivots in that we were working on in the previous video, or the previous stream, my apologies, with, man, I am not keeping track of my train of thought today. These are the non-stop pivots, and they have a slower rate of rotation, which which Mojin worked with much better. So if I just kind of scrub over to this point right here, so this is what I really want in terms of coverage from these animations. It's this pivoting motion right here, going from just a straight movement all the way around to 135 degrees. We're going to get 180 degrees, but we're going to do that in a separate pass. And so aside from that, we have some spiraling animations in here as well. And for those of you who have not been keeping up with everything so far, which would just be the previous stream, what I've mainly been working on is a system to have characters follow splines that are either laid out manually or generated procedurally in construction scripts, so that I can record the motions of these splines and take them into Mojin, which can generate a locomotion animation from a root bone trajectory. So let's see if I just switch over the view. Here we go. So this is Mojin, and I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the link to Motorica, the company that runs this, to their Discord server. If I can grab that. Okay, that link is now in chat as well. So top link is for the Dev School Discord. The most recent link is for the Motorica Discord. And so let's see here. I am streaming or tracking a few separate applications in OBS separately from my screen so that I can move into, out of Discord and such without that getting in the way of the stream. So if I do forget to switch the view over to a different application, let me know in chat, because chances are I'll forget to do that at least once in the course of the stream over the next couple of hours. So we can edit style of the animation being generated. There are various styles to choose from. We can also, on top of that, upload a FBX file. And so let me navigate over into one of the FBX files that I've prepared. And so I'm just giving you all a quick rundown of the overall pipeline and process before we get into the thick of things. Where did it go? There it is. So I'm in my file browser here, but I don't think you guys can see that with how OBS is working. Oh, I'm on the wrong drive. That's the second time I've searched for a project on a separate hard drive than the one that I've intended to search in. All right, here we go. I could definitely be a bit more organized with my Unreal Engine project storage. I believe I have some animations in this folder. Nope. All right, here, I'll pull this one in. And this is going to be a spiraling motion. It'll take some time to generate the animation. And while that works, it really only takes a few seconds. But I'm going to switch us over to Blender. And so a lot of the magic happens here in Blender, where you provide animation to this armature and export it as an FBX, and this is what gets imported into Mojang. So the process that I'm going through is that I'm using the take recorder inside of Unreal Engine to record the motion of actors in the level, and I'm taking those sequence assets that get created, and I'm exporting them as FBX files. I'm bringing them into Blender, and then we're taking that through Mojang to get animations out. Yes, I do plan to make a video on layered animation with motion matching, like the one that Unreal used in Fortnite and showed at GDC. I haven't done much with the layering, but this process of working on motion matching is all leading up to a new tutorial series on the channel. I do still plan to finish the current locomotion tutorial series. I have some videos planned soon for that, but I needed to do some work ahead of time and get some stuff figured out so that I can wrap it up with hand-eye K, pose layering, and procedural aiming. And so I wanted to get that all sorted out before I started making videos again, and that's just about there. So I should be able to get some videos up on that within the next week or so, I'd say. At least to Patreon and early access, and then out to YouTube afterwards. But yes, everything we're doing in these streams is building up towards a tutorial series where I'll go over the process in full and explain everything behind it. But I don't just want to be completely silent on YouTube while I work towards building the system, and thus the streams. So, I need to get myself a bit more organized. Another monitor would definitely help. I'm working out of 2, but I haven't tried to hotkey anything with OBS, so I need to bring that back up to switch scenes here. So back to Mojang, and okay, that has generated. So here we go. I had the spiral trajectory, brought it in, and this is the animation that we get out. So super useful, especially for motion matching. And now the reason that I'm going through all this effort to generate these trajectories inside of Unreal Engine and to build out things like this AI controller to follow a spline is because I want the movement in the animations, the velocity, the acceleration, the time it takes to go from a full jog to a stop to all match an in-game movement model that I specify. Right now, the process is quite manual, but I am going to try and work towards getting this process to be more automated than it has been, so that in the future, feasibly, we could have all the coverage that we need, that we know that we would need, all the splines, click a button, get the animation sequences, take them right into Mojang, and get our full coverage for a movement profile such as jogging or walking. And right now, I've just been focusing on forward-facing non-strafing animation, but I plan to get full coverage for both forward-facing and strafing animation. Though we're not going to get there in this video, at least I don't think. Be cool if we did, that's for sure. So, where should we start? Trying to recall exactly where I left off. I did a bit of work since the last stream. And okay, well, I think a good place to start would be to just show you guys the current state of this motion matching setup. So what you're seeing right now is a set of clockwise and counterclockwise spiraling animations, as well as some pivots, which aren't always being chosen to play, but in some cases, it's getting that right. So there's definitely work to do with the configuration and such. But so far, this is all running out of a single motion matching node. And this is in the 5.4 preview as well. So the trajectory does now go into the pose history node instead of the motion matching node, which I think is a good improvement. And aside from that, that is the only major difference between 5.4 and 5.3 with how you work with motion matching from the editor. I think it does run much better on the back end. It does better at finding good poses, and it is much more performant. I haven't tested performance, but that's just my understanding from what I saw watching the live streams from Epic from GDC this year. So it's all very exciting technology. That is for sure. So the primary items on my current list are to get start and stop animations into our database during the stream, as well as to get some more motions like this snaking motion. The character that's currently following this path does not have its settings configured properly, so it is going all over the place right now. Okay, so I have a question here that I'm going to read aloud to you all, and it is, how do you get these smooth transitions when switching velocity direction, front to back, etc.? That is all due to motion matching. So the premise with motion matching is that you put in animation data, and the computer figures out how to use that animation data. So if I open this configuration file, which is not named well currently, I was formerly using it just to test the spiraling coverage. I've pulled in all of these animation sequences, and I'm sampling pose and trajectory. And that is configured with a motion database configuration file. You can definitely reference the video that I did where I got motion matching working with the Lyra animations in Unreal Engine 5.3. It's not a great demonstration of how motion matching can look when you provide more animation coverage, but I do go through the process of getting things set up and explain what this database configuration file is and all of that. But a high-level overview is that we have all this animation data in an asset. Well, inside an animation graph, we use a motion matching node and assign one of those database assets. And this motion matching node isn't like a choice you can make or the choice you have to make over a more traditional state machine approach or using sequence players or blend spaces. Anywhere you'd put a sequence player in an animation graph, you can imagine putting a motion matching node in the graph. It works within the same system, the same animation system that everything else in Unreal Engine uses. So we can put in this motion matching node, and when it has a pose history node ahead of it, and this should be ahead of all the other motion matching nodes in the graph, similar to how the inertialized node is ahead of all the inertialized blends. It will perform motion matching. It'll look at a trajectory being generated by the character trajectory inside of our character blueprint, which we provide to the animation blueprint. And it will track the pose, and it will match our character trajectory and pose for the current frame against the character trajectories from the root motion and the poses from the animations in our chosen motion database. And it'll find the best pose, the pose with the least cost, and choose to play it for the frame. And so this is what the output of the motion matching node looks like without any smoothing whatsoever. And you can see how it is playing different segments of different animations. It's not consistently playing a single animation all the way through and then switching to a next one. Every frame, it's reevaluating the database and deciding if there is a better pose. So if you have an animation where the character does a 135-degree turn and you do a 135-degree turn, it'll figure out that it should be playing that animation. And I say 135 degrees just because I haven't generated 180-degree turns yet. I know it's a little bit of an odd number, but it does look pretty good. At least this turn does. For 180 degrees, it does a pretty good job. But that is how we're getting these smooth transitions. The motion matching has smoothing built in. We can up this blend time to something like 0.2. And I am going to tell it to use an inertial blend and toss in a dead blending node. If there's no added logic for interpolating across the direction change, that's just the power of motion matching. We have a single node and all the animation is coming out of that node. Now, there are situations where you might want to use multiple motion matching nodes. You might want to create a state machine and have different states and have different motion matching nodes in those different states. You can use them like you would sequence players, but while I'm prototyping here, have been using a single one so far because I haven't had a need to use multiple nodes with different databases yet. I'm not sure how it performs when the FPS drops, but it is very performant from what I can tell. They've made some big performance increases in 5.4. But I have not tested motion matching under in any sort of high stress yet. So now that we have blending turned back on, it is still, I said backed, which isn't a word. I meant to say back, and then I said backed again. So we have blending turned back on. There we go. Said it properly. And so it's still choosing different poses and jumping just as often, but because we're doing blending over the top with inertialization, or if we just use any other blending method, it really helps to smooth things out. So we're really lacking start stops in those 180-degree turns. So that is what we're going to work on getting worked in next. And as we add more animations, we'll likely need to change our configuration and perhaps this animation graph setup. And so we'll just do whatever, I'll perform whatever edits are required to get things looking better and work at figuring that out as I go along. This is definitely the largest motion matching project I've started inside of Unreal. So I'm learning as I go along live during these streams, trying to figure things out along with you guys. So these definitely aren't tutorials. There'll probably be useful information and I'll try to explain as much as I can, but I'm not going into these with a mindset of teaching you guys how to motion match in Unreal. I'm going in with a mindset of trying to figure this out and sharing the experience with you all. And then once I have it all figured out, I'll make a dedicated tutorial series on the subject. So let's go ahead and switch over into Blender because I already have exported some animations that I need to bring into Blender so that we can get these running with the Motorica skeleton here. I might be able to make the workflow a bit better if I used the Mogen plugin for Unreal Engine, but I have not tried that yet. So currently I am taking Unreal Engine file exports, FBXs into Blender, constraining this to those, and then uploading that into Mogen. So I'm going to go ahead and import, and I have a folder here, but I don't think it is being streamed, which I'm calling Unreal. Nope, actually it is Mospline. So these are the FBX files I've exported from Unreal Engine. So here, if I click play, we can see an animation where the character starts to move, and just keeps moving. Okay, I think I imported the wrong one. Let's try that again. Strange. Let me try a different one. I may have had these settings incorrect in Unreal when I recorded these. Okay, this one works. And so, when I record the characters in Unreal Engine using the, where is it? The take recorder, that will create animation sequence files. So if I just navigate into here, here we go. So here's an example. I can export the sequence as an FBX, bring it into, oh, I'm sorry guys, I was showing something in Unreal, but I forgot to switch over to Unreal Engine in OBS. So we use the take recorder here, which you can access under the cinematic section of the window dropdown. We can drag in actors to record. In this case, it would be these characters that follow the splines. It'll create animation sequence assets, and we can export these as FBXs. Here's an example. Turn trajectory one here. And so that is the Unreal side of the process. So we bring one of those FBX files into Blender, and I think I forgot to save this file, so I'm going to have to set up these constraints again. And that is just going to be a copy location and a copy rotation constraint, with the target being the FBX that we import for each of these. So rotation's a bit different on this one, but we just want to copy rotation on the Z-axis and location on the XY axis. And now if I play, we'll see the Motorica skeleton follow the route trajectory that we generated in Unreal Engine. Now I'm just going to trim this to the correct time, which is going to be starting at frame 24, it looks like, and then ending at frame 305. I do have access to a version of Mojin, which allows me to generate more lengthy animations, so I am using that for this project. So now I'll just select the skeleton here, go to export, and you guys will not be able to see this, but I'm checking limit to selected objects, choosing armature as the object type, and under the bake animation section, I'm disabling force start/end keying, all actions, NLA strips, and key all bones. Okay, guys, thanks for letting me know. I am terrible today at switching in OBS. I need to get this on one of my screens so I'm seeing it in the corner of my eye. Okay, here we go. I'm now seeing enough of OBS to be able to more quickly switch. I apologize for that. So we add a copy location, copy rotation constraint, location on XY, and rotation on the Z-axis. And now we have the Motorica Mojin skeleton following the imported FBX animation. And so with this skeleton selected, I can export it as an FBX file. And just make sure I'm only exporting selected objects, armature, and following the other settings recommended by Motorica. And that is, those can all be seen in their quick start Blender guide. It's accessible directly from their website, motorica.ai. Okay, so I have, so I'm in the window to export this, so that isn't going to be showing up for you guys. And I'm just navigating to the correct file because I haven't worked on this yet today. So this will go a bit quicker once I go through it the first time, because Blender will know where to import from, where to export to, and all of that kind of stuff. All right. So now I'm back in Mojang. Did I export to the wrong file from Blender? Let's see. I'll just copy the directory from Blender. It looks the same to me, but chances are I have the same project named the same thing that I've copied from one drive to another or something of the like. Okay, here we are. So I do not have information on motion matching's performance compared to the classic approach, but in my experience so far, it has been at least as performant and at times I think more performant. Because you're dealing with less data in a lot of cases. You have the trajectory, but that is all you need in most cases. So there aren't as many states and being evaluated at any given time. There's less transition rules and less variables needed for those transition rules. Yet at the same time, you are searching through a motion database that could be quite large and have a lot of poses. And so that I think would impact performance. But I haven't done any tests to see how much that impacts performance, but that's going to be, might be lighter on the animation blueprint side, but heavier when it comes to searching that motion database. Epic did get it working for 100 players at a time in a multiplayer environment. So I do believe it is going to be, or that it is quite performant in 5.4 compared to the traditional approach. Okay. Well, I didn't realize that I hadn't actually exported that file. So I just had to export that from Blender. I, got it all named and everything, but I did not put it into the, I did not click the export button on it. So there is a bit of an issue with the trajectory here that got recorded. So this is going to be a case where I go into Blender and just smooth things out, and this is probably a fault of my Unreal Engine setup. You'll likely want to still play montages over the top of motion matching, similar to what you would do in a previous sort of setup before motion matching, and there's a lot of possibilities and stuff I'm sure I haven't considered. Earlier today, I noticed that in the motion database asset, there's a drop down, and you can motion match animation montages. So maybe there's a system where you could have a separate database for your montages for doing different things and motion match inside of those. From a gameplay design perspective, I find the whole concept strange and intriguing at the same time. A lot of my work with montages has been on the combat side of things, specifically melee combat systems, where you have, animation notify states for when you should be tracing for hits, hit frames, block frames, like all of that kind of stuff, which the motion matching node for like animation sequences, your notify states, like it reads that kind of stuff. But you're never going to be guaranteed that going into a notify state, you're going to get to the end of it before it decides to switch to another animation. For the current frame being played, if there's a notify or if there's a state, you're going to know that. You're going to be able to read that like you would from an animation sequence. But so the whole concept of taking like something is tied to a gameplay logic is using montages and using that with motion matching in a database that might be blended for the upper body. That is an interesting concept. But another thing is that there's a new copy motion bone that Epic implemented for 5.4 and used in Fortnite, so that they don't have separate animation sets for holding the weapons and moving. They have like I think like poses, and then they're copying the motion from the locomotion animations and propagating it through a new upper body pose. And then my guess would be playing different montages on different limbs for things like reloads, that kind of thing. And they're probably copying motion onto that to some extent as well. I haven't tried that out myself yet, so I don't have too many answers there, but I'm really looking forward to understanding that sort of setup. And not only how to motion match locomotion animations, but how to motion match and then have the other stuff running on top of it, changing upper body poses, playing montages, and how it all fits together. So back in Blender, I'm going to try and find that issue. It happens occasionally, maybe once every 8 to 10 animations. Where there seems to be that jump in the trajectory. So, I'm not really seeing it in Blender as much as I am in Mojang, though. It'd be easier if I could visualize the trajectory in Blender. I haven't tried any sort of setup for that. Gonna read out another question here. Have I considered putting dampening on my camera so that I can spot foot sliding better? Hard to tell, but when I've been reading this in first person, it wasn't typed that way, so I'm just gonna switch because to the way it was actually written out. Not sure why I started reading it like that. Hard to tell, but when you go into your circular run, it looks like the feet slide a lot. So, I do plan to look more closely at foot sliding and address that later on. Currently, I think some of that sliding might be introduced in how I've been blending things, so I want to look that way first. But I'm not too worried about foot sliding right now. I want to address that later on when there's more coverage. We're in such an early stage right now that I'm more concerned with the overall motion matching behavior than I am in fine-tuning or any small tweaks on specific behaviors. And I'll kind of work my way down, focusing on more detailed aspects of how things are all going once we get some of the more high-level things implemented, like getting it to be able to do starts and stops. So I'll work my way towards looking into all that in more detail, and I plan to address all of those sorts of issues. So I'll see if just maybe using a different seed might get it to work a bit better. If not, I can try regenerating the trajectory in Unreal. That looks like it did a bit better. So what we get here is a stop and then a 45-degree start. So this animation, I have versions of this one for going forwards, going 90 degrees right, 90 left, 135 degrees left and right as well. So we get a full directional turning, as well as for our starts, as well as a bunch of different stops. And I might cut some of these animations to only get one. And eventually I might edit these start animations so that they use a consistent idle pose at the start. So there's a lot of steps that I would like to take in the future, but we're just kind of chipping away and starting with just trying to get everything set up at a baseline, having the different motions implemented, and then we'll start looking at ways to make things run better with snipping animations, making edits to start and end poses, and that sort of work. So I'll go ahead and download this, and I did not think to copy the name because the file that downloads does not have the same name as the upload. Motorica guys, if you're listening, it would be fantastic if the download file was given the name of the upload file. I'm not sure if you guys get to see that on your end or how that works with encryption or whatever, but that would be nice. Make it easier to do this in bulk. Because currently my current workflow is for each of these to go through and manually name each of these as I generate them so that they do not get out of order and so that I can track them more easily. So that was just an example running through the process. It took us a little while, but I'll try to get things sped up here. And now I'm going to go through and do these in bulk in Blender, bring in the skeleton and constrain and export. And once we have all the animations brought in and out of Blender, I'll switch over and generate them all in Mojang. But I did just want to go start to end through the process, at least in the Blender and Mojang side of things, before going in too deep. So now that I've gone through that and shown you guys, I'm going to go ahead and delete this animation out and bring the next one in. So I do have a forward-facing start-stop. I'm going to try to bring this one in again, but it doesn't stop. So I think I did something wrong in Unreal with what I exported or what I recorded. But I am going to see if the one that does not supposedly start and stop starts and stops. No, these are the same animation. So I'm going to demo, I guess, the process of recording one of these to you guys. So I have a spline here, but I actually need to select the character. So I have a bunch of characters here, one for each spline. So I've dragged the actor into the take recorder, and I'm setting my frame rate to 30 frames per second. And because the animation we previously had didn't match what I expected, I'm going to watch this one. Yep, it looks like this character is just going straight forward through everything without stopping. So the way I have my system configured right now is that the character is going to have settings, I believe. I've switched this around a few times, so yep, spline point delay time. So I have this set to 3 for the other characters, but not for this one. So I missed it when I originally set the values. So now I'll play and I'll go ahead and start recording in the take recorder. So now the take recorder is recording the animation of the actor I've fed into it. And in this case, it is that forward-facing actor that jogs forward, stops, and then starts up again. So now I can browse to get the animation, make sure force root lock is off. And now we have the proper motion. So I can right-click and export this out of the engine. Didn't ask me if I wanted to overwrite anything, so hoping I named that correctly, or that it did in fact overwrite the animation. Okay, here we go. Oh, guys, call me out on OBS. I did not switch to Unreal, so you guys did not see as I updated that stuff. Darn it. Something else ended up in front of OBS, and I missed that. I wish I could get this set up automatically. So I apologize for that. Where was I? That's right, in Blender. Okay. Believe it or not, I did a better job keeping track of OBS last week when I did the first stream with this setup. And I'm going to redo the 45 degree. I don't think there's going to be too much of an issue, but I don't think I was in the right file. And I've gone through this process a few different times, and I've changed the movement settings, and I'm working out of this file now. And so the animations may have matched, but I want to be certain. So I've already exported all the animations from Unreal Engine. And I did forget to set the time constraints in Blender properly for this one. And this will match for all the rest in this set, so I won't need to update this every single time. But because we just redid the forward one, I had to change that. Yeah, that pause time was much shorter in the last animation, the last 45 degree one, so that definitely was a previous version, which I did try earlier on, but the pause wasn't long enough for it to enter a full idle and fully stop the animation. So now we have our 3-second pause and the correct turn or rotation rate as well. And I must be quite scatterbrained today. Can't remember which one of these we're looking at. Okay, that is 45 degrees. All right. I think we can get into a groove here. I can get into a groove here and make some better progress. We've been at this for a while now. So let's try and speed this process up a bit. That was 135, so I got a little ahead of myself. Don't recall the name of this one, so I'm going back to the import screen. 22.5 degrees, okay. So I am doing 16 directional locomotion, I guess. Might be overkill, but if we need to go down to 8 or can go down to 8 directional without issue, we can do that later on. I was kind of just curious to see how it would do with 16 directional movement. Some of these turns might be a bit too subtle, so it might be better to just have it choose like a 45-degree in orientation warp. Don't know. We'll figure it out. It's all part of the process. And this is going to be a lot of trial and error, a lot of experimentation. So I'm just going through the animations and constraining them all. So for those of you who are joining, because we just got a little uptick of 2 or 3, I'm using Mojin to generate animations, locomotion animations for motion matching in Unreal. And to do that, I'm providing it with an animated vert trajectory for it to generate locomotion angles with. And so I'm generating those trajectories into Unreal, but I'm bringing them into Blender so that I can constrain the FBX file to the animation trajectory so that I can get that FBX file, which is required for Mojin, exported and uploaded into Mojin. All right, we're at the just about halfway point now with the amount of animations I have in this batch. So we'll definitely be able to get to more fun stuff soon. So if y'all have any questions about the process or anything, just feel free to ask them in chat and I'll respond. This is, things are pretty quiet right now as I go through this work. I don't know if I have the right skeleton selected that time. Almost done with this part. All right, this is the last one that I'm currently exporting. All right, we now have our animations exported, which means that we can switch over to generating the animations based on these trajectories. So let's switch over to Mojang and start uploading these animations. Okay, we'll work our way down the list like this. All right. So for these animations, I'm trying to get mostly starts for different directions. But we're also getting forward-facing stops out of this too. We don't need as many as we're getting here, but we'll toss the full animation segment in for the time being during this stream. Time for trimming animations and optimizing that aspect of this will be later on, once the system is further along. Might not be too far off from that. I'm hoping to make fast progress on putting this all together, but that's at least going to be outside of the window of this stream. I keep forgetting to copy the file name as I upload these. Trying to copy it so I can paste it into the name of the downloaded file. And so right now I'm just going for an animation set of male animations. pretty standard. But I do want to try potentially some different styles, definitely get a set of female animations so that we can have different movement styles in the finalized system. And once I have like all the trajectories processed through Blender, it'll be a much, much faster process to get different styles of animations for the same trajectories. But in a lot of cases, this is the first time I'm going through the process for a trajectory that I've exported from Unreal. So we have to do that initial step of running it through Blender and constraining things first. Gonna try a different seed for this one, just to see if that affects the way it started a little bit. That is strange. I've not seen that before. Just gonna move on to a different seed. That's better. About halfway through generating the animations that I want for the current batch. Gonna watch that one again. Okay, that's fine. All right, that was the halfway point. It's definitely slightly tedious work, but the result is so going to be worth it. That one came out well. And they all are, really, but it does very well with such a sharp angle and turn around on the turn. It'll be good to get the 180-degree ones. So we still have 4 of those animations to do, but we'll see these in Unreal before we do that, and then it'll also be a matter of getting the trajectories set up. The reason I have not done the 180-degree turns so far is because in my current spline follow logic, there is no way to determine the direction the character turns in. It just uses orient rotation to movement. So I might actually script out my own rotation logic. So that'll be fun. And try to match the character movement component as closely as possible. Though it is, I don't know if it's a linear interpolation on the rotation, if it's just linear or not. And that's the difficult part. I want things to match. So, I think it'll be close enough if I just rotate it at the rotation rate. So that is what I'll try to do. And so we'll look at we'll probably end up working on the AI controller a bit in this stream as well. I'm going to change the seed on this one and see if I can get that right foot to stay planted a bit better during the start. That's good enough. Five more animations to go. Two more. All right, and here's our last one. And this is the one that does not turn. It's just the jog forward, stop, and start again. Huh. I've somehow managed to not have the right animation for this one for the second time. That is funny. Let's figure out what happened there. I probably forgot to export and overwrite the one in Blender. I did just switch into Blender and re-export that one, but that did not show on stream because, again, I did forget to switch in OBS. Okay, there we go. Now we have our start. That forward start is definitely the most important one. All right. That is all of our starts and stops for forward facing. So it took less than an hour and 17 minutes to get this far, but that's a heck of a lot faster than it would take to animate or motion capture these from scratch. So I am quite happy because I am not an animator. I know how to work with animations, but I'm not the best when it comes to authoring them. I'd like to learn at some point, but I've not had the time, and there's other things I would rather do. I'm much more of a gameplay programmer type who fell down the rabbit hole of wanting to make locomotion look good. I'm not too much more of a scripter, really, with blueprints. I've recently have been trying to pick up some more C++, and that has been quite fun. So now we do, unfortunately, need to go back into Blender and do some more work. I'm going to make another collection here, just to organize things a bit better. And we need to import all those animations we created, we had generated. There's a couple of steps we need to take. I'm just moving these out of my downloads folder into the right folder before we move any further. Okay. So we'll see that for each of these animations, the pelvis is connected to the root bone. So we want to go into edit mode, rename, or I'm sorry, not rename, disconnect the pelvis from the root. We also want to rename the root to reference because that's what the bone is named in the skeleton. I have an Unreal that I'm importing this to, and apply the rotation. And then with that done, we can export. But I'm going to go back to the import menu to copy the name of this, and then go back over to export. And I'll go ahead and, I need to navigate to a different file here. Unreal input is what I've named it. And I'll create a new folder for these start, stop animations. And I am still in Mojin, my goodness. There we go. Blender is now up on stream. So now that I have this first animation processed, I'm going to double check those export settings in Blender by importing this into Unreal, which does remind me of these that I need to move into a proper folder. Oh, come on. I can't click and drag from the browser I have floating into the content drawer. I have to dock it. Okay. So I'm just doing a little bit of organization. All right. I'll go ahead and grab my FBX file and bring it in. Okay, here we go. Let's see. There we go, guys. We have the first animation inside of Unreal Engine. We will quickly retarget these once we get the rest of these start-stop animations in. But there's our 67.5 degree stop-start animation. Or no, that's not 67.5. We'll figure out which one is missing once we get them all in. That's unfortunate. I was hoping that I had gone through and managed to get all of those right. It's difficult when you're dealing with so many files and keeping track of all those names. Okay, well, I imported this, but I gave it. So this is the right one. I imported it and I exported it with the incorrect name. Oh, wow, guys. So I'm going to apologize for chat, to chat. It was completely frozen for me. I just got like a huge number of messages in. I was wondering why there's no activity, and there was. So I apologize, everyone. YouTube got completely stuck for me with chat, and I have not seen anything for the past probably at least 20 minutes, maybe 30. So yeah, Bad Radish, I apologize. You've sent a lot of messages. I'm reading through them now to catch myself up. All of these just came through all at once for me, so I apologize. So yeah, you can definitely overdo it with motion matching. I'm going to keep these sampled at 30 frames per second and probably try to prune down the coverage to the least amount. I'm casting a wide net right now as far as the coverage is concerned, and I'll probably reel it back into 8 directional later on. I do not stream on Twitch. I've mostly, you'll see by my YouTube channel that I've made a lot of videos. I have not done a lot of streams. I'm considering it because I want to stream more regularly. So it's on my mind, but there's more friction to moving over to Twitch and trying to do something like a concurrent stream to YouTube and Twitch together. So I have not tried that yet, but I do plan to try that maybe within the next couple of weeks, trying to do something that streams to both YouTube and Twitch together, perhaps. So, there is a free version of Mojin that lets you generate shorter animations. And then there's a I don't recall the price. As an ambassador for Motoric, I do have access to it. It's what I get for these streams and that kind of thing, and I'm working with them to help them make what they're doing better for us developers with motion matching. You can get access to a free version. I haven't managed to figure out how to get like the 3D trajectory working yet. That is, yeah, like it'll track the previous positions in 3D space. It looks like it predicts the position after the present in 3D space, but then everything after that is just has a consistent Z value. So I'm very curious to see how Unreal does it. Well, thanks. I'm glad that you're happy that you found my channel, Bad Radish. So I have not done these live streams very often, though I plan to do these every Wednesday going forward for the time being, because I want to keep putting stuff out on the YouTube channel, doing these streams, being able to talk with you guys while I work on this system in preparation for the next tutorial series. I have 3 to 5 more videos in the previous series of the Advanced Character Locomotion series, but that'll be outdated with motion matching. So I'm going to be starting a new one. Yep, I plan to do strafing and forward-facing motion, both in the system. The free animations are not available yet at Epic. If you're referring to the animations that Epic mentioned during GDC, they said that those will release a couple. The exact language used, I believe, was a few months, so that could literally mean 3 months, or I wouldn't think they meant that literally, so it could be 2, 3, 4, who knows, but a small number of months after 5.4 releases. So maybe in a month or 2 we get the full version after the preview, and then 2, 3, 4 months after that we get the huge number of animations they gave us a sneak peek of. So at the start, the take recorder is we are using that to record the route trajectory of the animations inside of Unreal Engine. Or not the animations, the characters. I have them following splines, so that we can define the different trajectories we want to get animations for. I use the take recorder to record that motion so that I can export the animation sequences as FBX files and bring them back into Blender. Okay, I'll look into that. Thanks, Bad Radish. Gotcha. I'll make note of that and look into that for concurrent streaming. So luckily, it looks like chat is now updating regularly for me. I'm getting messages as they come in. So that's nice. Very nice. So, but yes, this stream, though I think there is one question I did not answer out loud. This will be a video. Once the stream is finished, you'll be able to find it under the live streams tab on my channel. And so it'll be there. You can also join the Dev School Discord that I have. And I'm not always the greatest at being super active in there, but there is a trying to be better. There is a sizable community now. Little over 1,000 people. And it's pretty much mostly just Unreal Engine locomotion related stuff, because that is kind of what I stumbled into with the focus of my channel. That is the link for those of you watching who have not yet joined. I definitely encourage it. So I did just lose my train of thought. I apologize. Oh, yeah, but pretty active community. I haven't made any channels dedicated to motion matching, but it's definitely going to be a topic of discussion moving forward on the server as I cover it more on the channel, and I'll probably start trying to post updates too, with what I discover working on this, though I do plan to do weekly streams, so that'll be fun too. All right, so where were we? Oh yeah, animation I brought into Unreal had the wrong name. I exported the file with the wrong name, so I'm going to go to the import on this in Blender. Copy the original name and go back into the export. Paste that name and delete the file that I had the wrong name on. I think I just had a previous name copied and pasted it without realizing. Now in Unreal. I'm just updating that name as well. All right, so back in Blender, I'm now going to run through processing these animations as quickly as possible. So I'm going to import these one at a time, go into edit mode, disconnect the pelvis. This is the raw output from Mojin that I downloaded. Rename the root bone to reference. So that's the name of the root, just the way I ended up with the skeleton that I have in Unreal that I'm importing these onto, and I'm applying rotation. Then I'm exporting to a file. Is that really 45 degrees? Or did I copy the wrong name? No, that's 45 degrees. Okay, cool. Blender just is showing my files in an odd order. And so just to let everyone know, like, I've not gotten any chat messages since I posted the Discord link. That could just be that no one has sent chat messages, but I'm just being paranoid about it because YouTube stopped updating me with chat messages for 20 to 30 minutes earlier in the stream. So if anyone is sending messages, just know that I'm not seeing them, and hopefully YouTube will update me. Let me see if I can actually get this stream open in another window. Because right now I'm watching from the YouTube control panel backend, and I'm wondering if I'll get it more up to date if I just watch the stream directly from YouTube. It's kind of ironic, but I'll keep it open here as well. Okay, cool. Yep, I can see your messages. Thank you. I can't remember. I guess I did process this one. Did I apply rotation? Yes, it took me way too long staring at the completely wrong thing to figure that out. I was staring at scale blankly. I did not copy the name when I imported this, though. Oh, I did. Okay, I already exported this one. That's where we're at. I distracted myself there. So, to get these to work, the overall pipeline process, I'm not sure what you're referring to is, okay, yeah, the middle step. So what is happening here? I don't think I've done anything to this one yet, so I can show you, or here. I'll show you what's happening. So by default, the pelvis bone is connected to the end of the root bone. So the pelvis moves up and down during the gait, but because it has the animation data, but it's connected to the root bone. So it gets stuck. Oh my gosh. There we go. Should be on Blender now. I need, I'd love to get that set up automatically for it to switch, or maybe I'll just go back to streaming my full desktop screen. So, yeah, I was taking these animations through Blender, processing them. Let's see. Okay, so this is the raw output from Mojin. And so the pelvis is connected to the root bone, but the pelvis is supposed to move up and down. It has that animation data. So what we need to do is disconnect the pelvis. And now the pelvis will move separately from the root bone. But the skeleton that I have in Unreal Engine that I pulled in directly from the Motorica plugin files, the plugin doesn't support the version that I'm working out of, the 5.4 preview right now, so I'm using Blender and going through the Motorica website. But the skeleton, for this to match to it properly, I need to rename the root bone to reference, which it looks like I already did for this one. And I need to apply the rotation of the object. Okay, Reddish, I'll definitely take your input to the team. They do have an Unreal Engine plugin that makes the process a lot easier. It's just because 5.4, the preview just came out, they don't have it ready with the 5.4 version. I believe that they're going to be working on that, and that is going to work directly in Unreal Engine, and you're not going to have to do all of the extra work. I'm going through things this way just because of that. I haven't tried taking their plugin and just recompiling it for 5.4. I could give that a shot. I will definitely make a tutorial on the process. I could probably make a tutorial on this Motorica process of going from Motorica to Unreal Engine. I was thinking of doing that in the context of the series, but that is something that I could cover separately in like a quick 5-minute or 10-minute video. So I'll write that down and add that to my list, and I'll get to that. If not this week, then next week, definitely. Oh yeah, Linux. I gotcha. I would be on Linux if it worked better with all the game development software I use. I prefer Linux to Windows. Personally, I just have more fun with it. It's more painful in a lot of ways, but it's the kind of painful user experience that I find fun. I like having the command line and accidentally breaking everything with the wrong command. It's fun for me. So yeah, I'll definitely go through this tutorial, or make this tutorial, or make a tutorial. I mean, my goodness, I cannot talk. I wonder what causes that. I would expect the plugins to not be operating system dependent and to be Unreal Engine dependent. And if Unreal Engine supports Linux, then I'd expect the plugins to work. So that's interesting. And I'm totally trust you. I'm just surprised, somewhat surprised. There's a lot of stuff with Epic and the way Unreal is structured that surprises me in the not good kind of way when I learn it. So yeah, I definitely personally prefer Linux to Windows. But I don't have the spare time to deal with the friction when it comes to working with Unreal. Sure thing. Okay, so question for you guys who are watching. Did the YouTube user interface just completely change for you guys today? So the title for videos for me, the description, the comments are all on the the right side of the screen. And the video's in the normal spot, but then underneath the video, instead of having the description and comments, I have all the recommended videos. And that just completely changed for me in the middle of the morning today. I'm wondering if they've rolled that out to everyone. I find it funny because I almost like vaguely remember this being closer to an earlier version of the UI, but I just could be misremembering. Oh dang, yeah, that is a lot of work to get it from source and to get the marketplace. Yep. Oh, and it can't detect Linux build. Ooh. Oh wow. Yeah. That is not fun. They really need to fix their marketplace and library and vault and plugin storage and all of that stuff. The whole Unreal Engine side of the launcher really needs work. I'm hoping that when they go with do the whole fab thing that they've been doing with UEFN, that translates to a new version of the launcher. Um, yeah, yeah, I'd expect it to be done in phases as well. I do find it amusing how often YouTube just changes their user interface. Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely hoping that like along with Fab comes a new marketplace for the Unreal Engine assets and plugins, and that it would work within the engine would be like that would be most awesome if like building the engine from source would give you Fab and it was integrated inside, kind of like the way that the Megascans stuff is. So I think they're kind of like running that on the same tech, I'd expect. So if I wonder if they used to let you sort channels into folders. I must have missed that. That would be nice. And yeah, now they unsubscribe you randomly, or they, uh, yeah, that, or they just stop recommending videos. I luckily haven't encountered that yet. Um, don't know when the YouTube shadow ban will strike. The recommendations are like all curated now too, instead of just actually showing people what they want to see. It's what YouTube thinks you should be seeing. I mean, for everything I just said was a joke for the YouTube developers who are undoubtedly watching this stream and waiting to do something to my channel. Yep, yep. They've been doing some really cool stuff with 5. I mean, it's Seems like it was so long ago that it released now. Gosh, I just remember all the hype and excitement waiting forever since their initial announcement video for Unreal Engine 5. Wow. Um, yeah, they've definitely delivered on a lot. Totally. I'm looking forward to where it's going in the future. I'm interested in feeling out how the performance feels in 5.4 because they upgraded C++ 20, and I don't know how that's going to affect things, but I'm pretty sure they did some stuff with like CPU and multi-threading as well. So I'm really looking forward to Nanite and Lumen and the rendering tech just getting better and more performant. But at the same time, I'm really anxious for a more generalized physics rollback system and for chaos physics to just keep getting better. It looks like they made some improvements for what they're doing in Fortnite, but I don't know if that has come to 5.4 with actually replicating the physics. But I'm anxious to see the advantages of them writing their own physics engine from scratch to come to fruition, because so far it's just been a worse version of NVIDIA physics, because we're in the early days of the chaos physics engine. So I'm excited to see where it goes, because it feels like with 5.4 and what they've been doing for it in UEFN, it's getting closer to being at the point where it could start to surpass what NVIDIA might be doing within Unreal. So that'll be fun to see, and I'm looking forward to it. I haven't really done much with chaos, but I want to. Yeah, on my list, if I had a list like that for what I'd want, a lot of it would be like a lot of it would actually revolve around VR, I think. I haven't really shown much of that on the channel. I haven't done a lot of VR development myself. But I like the idea of doing VR development. I've done a couple like little small prototypes, not game prototypes, but like system prototypes for virtual reality. I want to do more virtual reality development in the future. But like the basis of Unreal Engine is so firmly established in third person shooters, like can do pretty much anything, especially if you just go and write C++. But still you have like the character movement component and like all this stuff that gets you set up and working really quickly in blueprints that just isn't there for virtual reality and any sort of real depth. But I'm hoping with like the Mover 2.0, and that will really help with the virtual reality development side of things too. NPC stuff would be really fantastic to have. Like NPC behavior stuff, like they are working on their recurrent neural network, not recurrent. What's it called? I can't remember, but it's the type of neural network where you simulate a bunch of them at the same time, and then take the ones that do best, mess with their weights a bit, and then rerun those weights as a basis. But that will be cool. But I'm not a big fan of behavior trees. I prefer utility systems conceptually. They're all good tools, but everything is built around the behavior tree model in Unreal, and I'd love to see a less specialized, more generalized and modular AI system. A Blackboard that isn't just tied, it's more general than just being tied to a behavior tree, and something that could more easily support a utility AI system would be awesome. I haven't tried third person VR myself. I've wanted to. Um, I've always loved the idea of taking like a mixed reality or virtual reality approach and just putting you in a room or leaving you in your own room and having a monitor to play a game on, but instead of having it a flat screen, just make it a 3D window into the game. Like that would be so cool to have like a resizable monitor where if I just lean over this way, I'm seeing further that way. That is something that I would love to see. And you'd think with like the Unreal Engine injectors and the kind of stuff people are coming up with on the mod front that someone would have made like a 2D box viewer. But it might be more fun to actually be fully immersed in 3D. So, utility AI is like the kind of system a game like The Sims would run on, but you're not only going to see it like with games like The Sims. It benefits a simulation approach, where essentially you have a bunch of actions or you have a bunch of tasks, and at any given time, each task has a utility score. It could be based on like something like hunger or thirst, or it could be something a bit more abstract. In the case of combat, you could have a utility for how much threat does this character pose to me? How close are they? It could be a function of how close are they? Do they have their weapon out? If you have like an RPG and a notoriety system, like that could all be a factor into an equation. So you'd have mathematical equations that calculate costs, and then the or utility scores, and the task with the highest utility score gets chosen. So that's really great for getting emergent complexity out of a set of simple behaviors, and none of the tasks would be connected to each other. So in a behavior tree, you have to think about execution order and hierarchy, and none of that's there in a utility section. It's just what task out of all the tasks I'm given as an NPC makes the most sense in the given situation. So like if you're in a shooter and you want the AI to move for cover, you could actually have like a function of how low how low is my health? How much ammo do I have? How close is cover? How close is the player? Is the player close to being dead? Like all of that numerically could be so yeah, the utility AI is kind of like the gameplay ability system of AI. What GAS does for gameplay scripting, utility AI would do to the behavior tree kind of approach, in that you can expand linearly with your tasks and utility calculations, and you get an exponential increase in emergent complexity and behavior. Yeah, I have not tried state tree yet either. I'll have to give it a shot soon. I haven't looked into smart objects yet either, and I really need to look into those. There's some stuff I'm kind of caught up in Unreal, but they've added so much since 5.0 that I'm so behind on some stuff like smart objects and state trees. So behind. I think both like the compositional approach and inheritance have their pros and cons. I tend to aim for a mix of both. Inheritance can be really useful, but like I would say it stops being useful practically in my experience past 2, 3 layers deep at most. At that point, it just becomes, at that point you should be using components. So I like inheritance, but there has to be a cutoff at some point, or it just gets way too deep. I agree. I'm kind of curious on how Verse is going to change the engine too. Um, right now, there's like a blueprint translation layer between the blueprint and the C++, and their plan is to have Verse replace that eventually. And then I really wonder how that's going to affect performance on the blueprint side of things, but then also how having a scripting language in the engine is going to affect things. Like right now, there's a very solid blueprint C++ workflow, but there's definitely places where I wish I could just type something out in code, but I don't want to deal with closing the editor, compiling from source, and opening the editor back up again just because I wanted to do something that would type out in math and C++ as opposed to doing it in nodes and blueprints. So, well, we've been talking for a while. I enjoy the conversation, but I have lost my train of thought. So I'm going to try to remember. Okay, so it looks like I haven't started on this one yet. Oh, yeah. Yep. Never nest. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Nested code is, I hate it. I'm such a fan of, there's a name for it, but there's like a coding style with branches where you put all your return or exit conditions first and just evaluate them sequentially. And it's so much easier to read. Like everything code wise is so much easier to read when you don't have 10 layers of nesting. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you there. Certainly. Oh, no, I really do enjoy the conversation. This is tedious work. Oh, yeah, so do I. That's the problem, that I can go on tangents that are way too long, and I'll go on 5 different 12-minute tangents, and in the end, I won't even remember what I was originally trying to say. um, and they're all on like the future of game development and such. Like a common occurrence with my tangents is just the state of Unreal and game development technology. Go ask the moderator in the Dev School Discord, Brian. He can definitely confirm. We've been working together on a game project for some time now. Is that 45 degrees? It's been a while, so. Okay, well what? Oh. Oh, I know what happened. I unparented the pelvis instead of disconnecting it. Okay, yep, that is the right one, the right name, but I had the parenting messed up. So that's fixed now. How many more of these do we have, I wonder? 5. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. I was hoping to be further along, but I've gone off on plenty of tangents myself. But trust me, chat, the conversation is what keeps me sane while going through all of these steps in between Blender and such to get these animations into the engine. On the bright side, I don't think we have that many more animations in totality to create for the forward-facing system, which is nice. We have at least for the jogging, we have 4 trajectories for the 180-degree turns, and then what else do we have? I'm moving too far away from my mic, probably. The snakes. And spins. Snakes and spins. And I'll probably try and take like a full day of time some week soon. Maybe next weekend, if I can get to that point. Before then, to just get all the strafe animations generated that I want. So that we're ready to really get cooking during one of these streams. Second to last animation now. I know it's been a while in Blender here, guys. I'm not a great multitasker when it comes to talking and working at the same time. It'd be great if I could figure out a way to overlay my chat onto my main monitor, because I have it on a second monitor here, and the monitor, it would probably be better to be on the other side, so that I wouldn't have to look as far to see chat. I might switch that around to make this process a bit easier, because if I'm able to watch chat while I work instead of completely shifting my attention, I should be able to do more while I talk with you guys. And that would be the ideal, to talk a ton back and forth with you all and accomplish stuff concurrently. So I think we're on the last one. Yep. I hope. I mean, it's true unless I missed one on accident, and we'll discover that soon enough. I forgot to copy that name when I imported. Okay. Nope, I did not mean to import it a second time. Okay. That's it. That's our stops and starts processed through Blender. So now, I don't know why Blender is doing this. It's bad when it comes to importing FBX files, but watch what happens when I export the last one here. And watch, because I'm showing you guys this all on stream, it's not going to happen. Yep. It actually worked that time. So sometimes it'll just choose to import all the FBX files I've exported. Like, they all get stored in the FBX files I export. So the first one I export has one animation. The second one has two, so on and so forth, all the way up. All the way up. And they all have the same name. And that's what happened the last time I brought in a bunch of animations, and they're just all in a folder off on the side, and I have absolutely no idea what they should be named. So I'm going to hope that I can get these in one at a time, but I'm also slightly scared to try and just import them all in bulk. But it looks like we're actually going to be safe. So I'm just going to select and import all of these together at once. The last time I did that, it would, gave me like 100 animations from 10 or 12. And it was just a bunch of duplicates. So for future reference, whenever I don't want something to go wrong, I'll just start. No, that's the opposite of how it should work. I was going to say I should just start streaming. But of course, it should work the other way around. So maybe it's when I want to share how something goes wrong and then it goes right. Funny how that works. So now, yep, these look good, I think. Oh, I clicked off of my window in YouTube on accident. So I'm going to go back into there. I do not know how many animations I plan to have. Enough is the answer. The best answer I have. And how much is enough? Well, that's what we're in the process of trying to figure out today and yesterday and probably at least the next stream too. Yeah, we'll find out. I'm probably generating too many angles directionally right now. We'll find out. Some of these I think might be a bit redundant. We'll see. Now I'm going to retarget these, and I already have a automatically generated retargeter, which is super great. That's super nice feature in 5.4. Where'd the retarget option go? There it is. I hope all of these are it, because it's showing me every animation on this skeleton and not just the ones that I just brought in. What the heck? Ah, oh, crap, it's showing me the take recorder ones. Okay, I'm just gonna rename these to, I'm gonna give them a suffix of, or a prefix of n for new, because I'm gonna be deleting these once I retarget them. That'll make these a lot easier to tell apart in the retarget menu. What are these? Why do some of these have the prefix of care for character? Did I just not name these consistently? Maybe. I'm gonna check Blender in the file that I'm exporting to. Okay, yeah, I just didn't name them consistently. Alright, that's better than what I was worried the case was. Oh, I'm not in Blender. I mean, I'm not in Unreal. There we go. At least on stream. Oh, but you guys are not seeing my content browser, so let me dock that. Okay, so now I'm going to bulk edit these. And enable root motion. Now, opening my, okay, so the content drawer is showing, that's good. I have this terribly named motion database configuration file. I'm just gonna pull all these animations in. All right, guys, let's see if we can start We better be able to start after all that. Where are we? Oh, okay. That's nice. Root motion didn't get enabled, or we need force root lock to be on. Let's see. So, Mojin, forward facing jog, turns, everything prefixed with an N, and I'll need to name these all consistently soon, or this is going to cause me a headache later on. Okay, so we have a stop, and we get away from these other characters. I should have separate levels here. That's not bad. Now, all these stop animations do not enter into the same idle pose. So having the start from the same pose, the stops end in the same pose. That's going to be helpful later on. The 180-degree pivots aren't working too well because I don't have that coverage yet animated. In some cases, the 135s that we do have looks pretty good. And of course, there's plenty of stop coverage. That looks just fine. Yeah, this is looking pretty nice. I'm surprised with the quality thus far. There's foot sliding. There's some foot sliding, but overall, I'm going to take this into slow motion. It's really hard to turn the mouse consistently to look at the curving in slow motion. I'll be right back, guys. I'm going to grab a cable to plug a gamepad in. Okay. Oh, something has to be unplugged. The question is what? Can't do the second monitor. Don't want to do the webcam. I need more USB ports. I do not think this USB port works, but I'm going to try because I don't really have much that I want to unplug right now. Yeah. That is not working. I really do not want to unplug my microphone while I stream. So yeah, we're just going to look at this in normal speed. But there's definitely going to be, I think, sliding on the turns, like you mentioned. It's difficult to see at this speed, though. Like, there's back and forth sliding along the left-right axis of the character because of how the root bone works with the way Motorika generates their animations. We're probably going to have to process the animations with a new root trajectory for the turns so that it is underneath, more centered underneath the pelvis. Hi, I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. But like starts, stops, there's a bit of foot sliding. There's not an idle animation, so it is finding a few frames to play. It slowly drifts into the stop position, but that is all issues with animation data and not with motion matching, and we can clean up the animation data later. I'll clean up the animation data later, or I'll bribe my animator friend to clean up the animation data for me later. I'm going to turn off the blending. So yeah, because it snaps back and forth like this during the turns, it that's going to introduce foot sliding. So we may be essentially suffering from success in that we have too much coverage and it's too accurate, and my mouse is too inaccurate compared to the spiraling coverage. So there's too much for it to choose from. And so it chooses an optimal pose, but that pose has the feet in a different position. And so they slide as we turn. So having maybe a set of circles instead of a continuous spiral might do us better, or just a spiral that doesn't have as small of an increment. So we cover different radiuses. Yeah, so the character does get stuck if I turn the camera too fast, but this is going to be a case where that 180 degree coverage and 180 degree starts can, where that can help us, as well as spins, which we don't have implemented, or I don't have implemented right now. So the other thing I want to test is I want to re-enable my custom blending control rig. It does spring interpolation. Spring interpolation, I mean. I did not really say that too clearly. Separately for different bone chains. Yeah, the legs look weird. So I'll need to work on the settings for that. Oh yeah, and I exaggerated the arms because I was showing the control rig to someone earlier in voice chat. So there's secondary motion and the arms are moving really slow. I'll show this in a dedicated video as well eventually. But I'm messing around with a way to blend poses using control rig in a way that takes in velocity into account and adds in secondary motion, which I think helps the overall feel of the motion, helps the motion to feel more consistent. And so moving back and forth doesn't look great, and that's because we don't have that snaking coverage. So that's another thing. I was thinking about trying to generate that trajectory with a spline, but I'm thinking doing some of these sorts of movements right here, like with what I'm doing with my mouse, the kinds of movements that just cause our current coverage to struggle, it'd be really beneficial just to record that. Okay, I'll pull up the control rig and go over it in more detail for you. One other thing here is to switch foot placement over to graph because it's in manual and I haven't made curves for those animations yet. And that could also help with foot sliding quite a lot, but we can look at that later. So the control rig is quite simple. I have a series of item arrays, and I've just split up the body into sections that I want to apply different settings to. So the amount of these arrays you have depends on the diversity and setting values you want to have. So I have an array for the legs, an array for the arms, and an array for the spine and pelvis, and then a separate array for the neck and head. Yes, I am using orientation warping. So that's in graph mode after the motion matching, which helps to fill in the gaps in between the different angles that we. So I need to test this with a gamepad, so it sucks that I would have to unplug my microphone to test it. I need more USB ports on my computer. So it's really just this pattern right here, repeated for each of those item arrays that I've made. This long one is just the arms and hands. Or actually, I think I split the hands off from the arms. So the magic happens in this function here. Oh, before I open it up, let's just look at the inputs. So it takes in an item array, a strength for the blending. We're using a damped spring, so a critical damping for the spring. And then an array of interpolate location indices. And this velocity weight is not being used. It's just left over from testing. So this is useful when you want to interpolate the location as well as rotation. So it is propagating the rotation down the chain. So if the upper arm bone rotates, the lower arm will move its position with it properly. But the pelvis doesn't have that sort of connection to the root. So I realized that I needed to interpolate the location of the pelvis as well as the location. So I came up with a generalized way to handle that, where I pass in essentially an array of indices that I want the location to be interpolated for. And in this case, I only ever use it for the indice that matches the pelvis. And so what we do here is we pass in our strength and critical damping into a spring interpolate, and then we get the rotation of the current item and using a for each node for the input array. We take the result and we set that transform for the bone that is the current item. However, we also add in a new location that is either the previous location or it's an interpolated location. And that's going to be true if an element in the interpolate location indices array matches the index. And that is the logic. Now, I could probably organize and clean this up a bit, but there it is, so that when this is a video, you can go back and pause if you'd like. And so it's this pattern repeated throughout. I am using orientation warping, so if it breaks your animations when you're going backward, let me think. You're likely, I'm going to assume that you're using it in manual mode. Is that correct? I could be wrong, but based on the problem you mentioned, that is more commonly encountered in a manual mode with orientation warping. And as far as modifying the US animation set to work with a female, I would also recommend trying something like what the Advanced Locomotion System version 4 does, where they have their overlay poses. That could be useful in changing like a default posture as well, which can really help. As well as adding interpolation and such into the different limbs. Add secondary motion. You could like get more sway in the hips and such by just using a spring interp with a lower strength and maybe a lower critical damping on the pelvis, for example. That's interesting. So it should be, what I would really appreciate would be a screenshot of your graph where you're doing orientation warping potentially. And I can take a look at that later. If you're in the Outcast Dev School Discord, you can send it there. If not, let me send you the link. Yeah, definitely take a look at the Advanced Locomotion System version 4's overlay system. Free it's free content on the marketplace. It hasn't been updated since like a earlier version of Unreal Engine 4, but um you can make the project and then you can update the project to whatever Unreal Engine 5 version you want without any issues. And it has a pretty awesome system. Its overlay system isn't the best on performance, but there's some like dynamic additive creation stuff that happens at runtime that is super useful to learn and understand. I do plan to try and cover something similar but simpler on my channel relatively soon too. So feel free to ping me. You can at me. My name's Ethan. So my Discord is let's see, what is it in this server? Yeah, Ethan C is my Discord username in the Dev School server. Pretty sure that's what it is in all the servers. Okay, cool. Yeah, definitely check out its overlay system and how it applies the additive to change the posture. Because that with this could maybe get you towards what you're going for. All right, everyone. I think I'm going to end out the stream here. And we'll continue next week, potentially a bit earlier in the day. And I might have something a bit different in store for the stream, but I'll keep that under wraps for the time being. So thanks for tuning in, guys. The stream will be available to watch on the channel. And yep, I'll see you all next week. And I'll plan to continue making these streams. I'll get back to posting videos relatively soon, but I do plan to continue streaming regularly going forward. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all later. And feel free to hop into the Dev School Discord as well. I'm just going to give it a moment to make sure the stream catches up before I stop broadcasting.